G'day guys, I'm going to be doing a review this evening of a British horror comedy made in 2006 directed by Christopher Smith, and that film is Severance. Now this is a film directed by Christopher Smith, who also directed Creep, which was a lot different from this film. Creep is a straight out horror film, but this one's been advertised as a horror comedy. So anyway, it's basically about a multinational weapons manufacturer called Palisade rewards its European sales division with a team-building weekend in the mountains of Eastern Europe. No one realizes that their holiday hideaway is the subject of an urban legend. And that's as far as I'll go with the story. My reviews do not contain spoilers. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. So that's the basic outline of the plot. And yeah, so yes, it's advertised, marketed as a horror comedy, but it's unlike any horror comedy out there. I mean, movies like Shaun of the Dead are a lot different from this. This is a lot more dark and nasty. I mean, there are some very brutal scenes in this film. The characters in it, the sales division team, there are some very likable characters in it. I mean, unlike a lot of uh, horror comedies out there, these characters aren't exaggerated. I mean, there are some um, qualities that you like about them, and there are some other qualities that are pretty bad. So they're very real people. I mean, everyone has their flaws and positives, and yeah, that just makes us the people we are. And this is definitely the case with the characters in this film. I thought they were very real. Danny Dyer plays one of these characters. He's the stoner. He's a guy famous for his roles in football violent movies like Hooligans. Tim McInerney plays the boss, who is famous for the Blackadder series, and there's also Laura Harris, who played the alien girl of the science fiction horror film The Faculty. So there's some big names in it. Um, this film doesn't really maintain its level of humour throughout the whole film. I mean, the first half of it is pretty funny, but it's not like laugh out loud. So the first half is kind of a light-hearted sort of a laugh here and there. But then halfway through the film, when they hear about this urban legend and discover that this urban legend is in fact true, it takes a completely different turn. It goes down a very dark, brutal path. And although there are some humorous elements to it throughout the whole film, when the brutality starts, you really don't find yourself laughing too much at the funny parts because, as I said, you really care for the characters. They are likable, um, and it just makes it have more of an impact when they um, meet their gruesome death. It is a slasher film, but it's head and shoulders above most slasher films out there. Don't let the horror comedy tag put you off. I mean, if you're not into horror comedies, this could almost stand on its own 2 feet as a straight out horror film. Yes, some pretty good shots. That was filmed in Romania, I think it is, but the actual film is set in Hungary. So yeah, the actual film was made in Romania. So a lot of Eastern European beauty to the film. Very green. It's in the middle of the woods. And so yes, a very sort of foreign look to it, which is really good. It has the British kind of element to it, that British horror feel to it. Very dark and nasty. Although the first half of the film matches the light-hearted feel. I mean, there's a lot of colour. The sun's out. Everyone's in good spirits. But then in the second half, it goes dark. Nighttime falls when the brutality starts. So it kind of changes its mood a lot. Um, so it kind of really two films in one, I guess you could say. The first half is a comedy, and the second half is just your brutal horror film. And I really like this. I mean, people compare it to Shaun of the Dead, but I don't think you can compare it because although they are both horror comedies, they're completely different films. Shaun of the Dead had a lot more humour to it, but I think this one has a lot more brutality, and it's not exaggerated. Um, there's no far out sort of characters. They all stay pretty, in touch with reality, like how proper people act. Um, yes, it's just a very unique look at the horror comedy genre. And yeah, if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of comedy, you'll get a bit out of this if you're in it for the comedy. There are a few random scenes, but just be warned because there are more brutal scenes. Especially there's a scene involving a bear trap that is quite hard to watch, and there is a decapitation scene that is both brutal and funny at the same time. But once again, the level of brutality will kind of wash away the laugh. In my opinion, it happened to me. You might find this hilarious, but as far as I go, I found it to be more of a brutal film than a funny film. But anyway, this is Severance, directed by Christopher Smith. I highly recommend this film. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, there's a few big names in this film, big name actors. So isn't low budget. So if you're not a fan of low budget films, then you won't have to worry because this one it has a fairly high budget. Some pretty good gore in it, but just be aware of the fact that it is pretty nasty. Alright guys, that was my review. I hope it was helpful to you, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye.